Estimates show that China's retaliatory tariffs could cost American soybean farmers roughly $5.9 billion in lost revenue. How are you and other farmers reacting?
We're very concerned, Phil. We have a precedent from the trade war we went through about 7 years ago that was devastating to the American soybean farmer. Over that period of time, we lost nearly $20 billion of trade with China. Trade is 50% of the acres that are produced in the United States, and of that, currently 25% of our soybeans that we raise go to China.
I want to focus this body's attention on our nation's farmers and ranchers who seem to be getting punched day after day, week after week by the Trump-Musk oligarchy. Whether it's their harmful tariffs that hurt our soy and corn farmers, canceling and freezing more than $1 billion in funding for schools and food banks to purchase food from local farmers, or halting reimbursement and contract payments that our farmers are already owed, the senator from New Jersey and I are both working together to undo some of the most harmful impacts of these disastrous decisions, including joining forces on to push his Honor Farmer Contracts Act forward. We're also starting to hear reports from farmers about just how damaging the Musk-Trump dismantling of USAID is. Jobs and businesses right here in America. For example, I don't know if the senator has heard, but in North Carolina, they had $2.2 billion in USAID awards, including for 27 large-scale farmers who were fulfilling orders for humanitarian food assistance, and 4 universities who were receiving agricultural research funding. More than 300 North Carolina workers have lost their jobs as a result of this freeze. In Georgia, they had over $389 million in USAID awards, including 9 large-scale farmers fulfilling orders for humanitarian food assistance and 6 universities receiving agricultural research funding. Arkansas had over $210 million in USAID awards, including purchases of rice, grain, and beans from our farmers. Florida has lost $91 million in USAID awards, including $38 million to the University of Florida to improve livestock productivity and food security in developing countries. Texas lost over $48 million in USAID awards, including 9 large-scale farmers fulfilling orders for humanitarian food assistance and 8 universities receiving agricultural research funding. The list goes on and on. My neighbors in Iowa over time now have lost over $4 million in USDA food commodity sales. They have gained they had a total of over $149 million in purchases through USDA and other programs for USAID. Illinois has lost $245 million in aid in farm income that would go towards USAID and aid programs. I think that our farmers have been hit with body blow after body blow from this administration, an administration that in their first term and even in the second term promised that they would look out for America. But I have to say to my friend from New Jersey, I don't think that this administration has lived up to their promises to farmers. Remember that a nation that cannot feed itself, if we lose those family farms, if we lose our ag sector, we cannot lead the free world. We cannot feed ourselves. And frankly, farmers have been hit over and over again. These incoming tariffs are going to be disastrous for our farmers. I was just in South Central and Southern Illinois, just across the Mississippi River from Missouri, talking to our farmers in St. Clair County, Illinois. And you know what they tell me? They tell me that the tariffs are going to affect their products being sold overseas.
The USDA has decided to end an $11 billion program they had with Iowa farmers that was started about 3 years ago during the pandemic. And this particular program was for Iowa farmers to grow food for food pantries and school food programs. These programs helped farmers develop more efficiencies with their farming techniques, but it also helped them move more product. Now, farmers say they knew that the program would end at some point, just not right now, considering they were already prepared for the next 3 years that were remaining in this current program. This end to this USDA program is going to end programs like local food for schools and subsidies where certain organizations would give like $1,000 to local schools to buy fresh organic food. In the meantime, they're asking people to support these local Iowa farmers because now they've got to move this product. A big problem.
want to work, sell our crop, and have a decent life like everybody else. But if they would just leave it alone.
This trade war is going to impact literally every corner of the country. Some of those who are most uncertain about what this is going to mean is those in agriculture and farming, like here, corn and soybean farmers and pork producers. Where does this trade war end?
I don't know where it ends. I hope it ends soon.
What is your message to the Trump administration?
Just stay out of it. I mean, if they would just leave it alone and let the free market do its job, everything would be okay.
This is going to be so far reaching, not just because of the Trump administration's tariffs of goods imported into the United States, but it's about the question marks in the days ahead about the retaliatory tariffs that the likes of China, Canada, potentially Mexico, and Europe are going to place on U.S. goods that are either produced, like corn and soybeans, or manufactured and sent overseas.
Just a couple of hours ago, I convened a roundtable of farmers from New York who are desperately fearful that this is going to kill their livelihood. I mean, they export most of their products to Canada. They get a lot of supplies. Their fertilizer all comes in from Canada. The sawdust that they use for their animals comes in from Canada. So I don't know what they're thinking in Washington, but this is going to crush the livelihoods of people who supported them. These are your supporters you're killing. So it makes no sense. And to say that it's short-term pain for long-term gain, like, people want relief now.
Who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants, because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers.
How are they going to do that? Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
Now look at yourself looking stupid on camera. What do you mean you didn't think he would go through with it? Why would you vote for something you don't believe would happen? No, you just wished it wouldn't affect you. But it will. Oh, within 2 days you won't have any food, and you didn't think of that in a voting booth? This just proves that Americans voted against and not for. And how are they going to do that? By showing up in hospitals, daycares, schools, churches. This man reminds me of the fishermen who voted for the Brexit and then started crying when they lost their market. He hates his employees deeply. He said it with his whole chest and didn't even realize it. Out there looking. Putain, faut quand même être con, quoi. Faut vraiment être con. Je comprends.
This is not hippy-dippy stuff we're doing here. We're farming. We're raising cattle for butcher. We're raising cattle for milking. Like, we're raising chickens to butcher. Like, this is not some, like, liberal nonsense. We're trying to do good things to provide good food to the American people and take care of our local environment while we do.
So we're only 2 months into the Trump administration, and our farmers are being decimated. And when you start to see the price of groceries go up even more, keep all of this in mind. Everything that affects farmers affects our refrigerator, our cupboards, the restaurants we eat at, you name it. This is from Reuters. It's called Farmers Put Plans Investments Under Trump USDA Spending on Hold. And it gives all these examples. There's one farmer in Montana who's spearheading building a feed mill for farmers within 150 miles. Feed mills those are your big grain elevators, your big silos that you see, and when farmers harvest their commodity, they need somewhere to store it and sell it. It's kind of like their version of a retail store. And so these feed mills have staff there that put a price on the farmer's commodity and arrange to have it sold. And they store it in these big silos, and then the farmers can go back and keep harvesting a new crop. Well, this $684,000 project that had been awarded under the Biden administration, the Trump administration is not paying it out. So this farmer had to put it on hold. And here's the thing, a whole bunch of those farmers, they're organic farmers, organic, woke farmers. They've got all of their crops that are just sitting there going bad. They're just alfalfa, you name it, it's just sitting there. And this farmer is getting invoices from these contractors he hired to erect this feed mill. And these contractors, budgeted for getting this job, and now they're going to lose out as well. Thank you, Donald Trump. And this is already happening at a time when exports are going down because of the Canadian tariffs and everything like that. The exports are worth $191 billion a year to our American farmers, and Donald Trump is fucking with that. There's two farms that wanted to remain anonymous, that because their product lines that they were getting ready to harvest, they did not get the money from the Trump administration. It had been approved under the Biden administration, and they both had to file for bankruptcy. Now, all of these farmers were already being hit, had been hit for the last at least 4 years. For instance, soybean prices never recovered under Donald Trump's first tariffs in 2016. Farmers were hit back then. But because they're just so loyal, I don't know, they just want to hate gay people too much. I don't know what the hell. They truly believe that electing him again, he would make things right. They really believe that. What made them think that? What made them think that? So under the Biden Inflation Reduction Act, farmers were awarded $20 billion in farm subsidies. And these farmers aren't getting a lot of this money now. And so they're calling their local representatives, Republican representatives, and most of the time their calls are not being returned. They're not picking up their phones. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? There's climate-friendly farmers. There was an initiative under Biden. If you build climate-friendly processes and you're farming, and we're talking about preventing pollution from manure, from fertilizers, and all that stuff, you were awarded money. And these farmers invested in cleaner technology to protect your drinking water, my drinking water, the soil, the air. And they're not getting their money now under the Trump administration. There's another Nebraska farmer who was awarded $400,000 to build a mill. Mills are used to, like, for instance, grind flour that ends up in our snack food. That is on hold because this farmer is not getting his $400,000 approved under Biden by the Trump administration. Trump's not releasing it. There's another farmer and his wife, they skimped for years to grow their livestock because there was a growing need for their specialty flavored sausages that they were producing that fed hungry kids at their local schools through these feeding hungry school kid initiatives under the Biden administration. And since all that funding has been cut off, they just had to file for bankruptcy. The USDA has a lot of money on hold that's linked to any kind of soil and water conservation that's already been awarded, grants that have already been awarded, because having clean water and clean soil is woke. Anything that had already been approved for organic farmers is on hold because growing organically is woke. Communities, farmers that live in communities that serve the poor and underprivileged, that money is being withheld because feeding the poor is considered woke. And here's a big one. Women-owned farms, their funding is being withheld. Do you know how many women own farms? They've inherited it from their family. Their fathers, their grandfathers have died, they've retired, and these daughters grew up on a farm. They know how to run these farms, and a lot of them voted for Donald Trump, a lot of them. Because being a woman-owned farm is woke.
Call me cruel, but I have zero sympathy for, and I do not give a shit that that farmer is potentially going to be losing his farm because of Trump's cutbacks. He voted for that. How am I supposed to have sympathy for somebody that is going to lose their lifestyle when they voted to lose that lifestyle? I don't get it. Like, does the privilege run that deep That you thought that you were immune, or were you really that uninformed about what Trump was about? I'm sorry, I don't. And this isn't me saying like, oh, I wish everybody harm, but like, you're not going to see sympathy for me. It is run out. It is gone. There are like 1,000 times worse things happening in the United States now. You know what I mean? Like, lives are at risk. So, and you voted for that.
All right, if Trump's first term brought tariffs against other countries and triggering the farmers to lose a lot of business and to lose a lot of the farms, what ended up happening was there's a bunch of subsidies, like hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies that went from the government to the farmers. Many of these farmers, it did not help. Many of these farmers actually had to sell their farms and go from there. When they sold their farms, there was one big corporation there to buy them all up. That big corporation was led by and run by none other than J.D. Vance. Now the farmers are looking at two different things, and speaking just from California in the perspective, on the return trip from the Revolution Washington World Tour, the last leg of the trip from Denver to home was sitting next to a dairy farmer with 4 wonderful daughters that were coming back from a volleyball thing. He was very, very Trumpian, very Trump fan. And we just had a nice conversation, open conversation. I told him about what I did in Revolution Washington and logic, not politics. And he was asking me questions. And I had asked him flat out, I said, how do you feel about the whole Trump turning on the spigots and draining those 2 reservoirs that the Central Valley relies on to get through our obnoxious summers of 110, 120 degrees, not to mention fire season and everything else. And just as a reminder, Trump decided he was going to strong-arm Gavin Newsom, try to show power, and he basically released the water against everybody's begging and pleading in 2 very, very important strategic reservoirs. The purpose for these reservoirs was actually to aid the agriculture community in the Central Valley through the really, really harsh summers that we have every single year. You hear about the droughts and everything else. The problem is the droughts happen and the agriculture has to go anyway. So Donald Trump took that away from farmers, number one. So I wanted this gentleman's opinion on that. And he told me that Donald Trump was taking the advice of people who told him it would be all right. So Donald Trump was being naive and listened to the wrong people. And I asked this gentleman, I said, do you think that Donald Trump listens to anybody? And I pointed out the number of references DJT has made in the past of how he's the expert at anything. He knows more about drone technology than the people who create it. He knows more about terrorism than the generals. He knows more about blah, blah, blah. He knows, and he's a brain surgeon because his uncle was, and it's in his blood, which makes him smart. This is the C student who literally has problems reading. And that is proven and factual. So neither here nor there. So this gentleman came up with the excuse that he was taking the wrong advice and he was misled. Nothing to do with ego, anything. Okay, so I let that slide. So I asked him about the tariffs and what that is going to do. And he said, again, I think he's taking the wrong advice. So this is a diehard Trumper that is being directly affected in huge negative ways as a farmer, dairy farmer, and he also does pistachio, all these other types of things, but dairy is the number one. So he's being affected in every way, and he's still stuck that Donald Trump is not doing anything wrong, and other people are misleading him. So I was closing the conversation, and I said, well, he hires only the best people. We've established that. I mean, Pete Hegseth is awesome at what he does, and Pam Bondi, very sarcastically, and I think he read that because a little bit of New Jersey came out. And then I had discussed with him the information that is coming out on the newest tariffs that are being hit all over the world and what that is going to do in the face of all the farmers. I said, at what point will you look at Donald Trump as the one making these decisions? What will it take you? And he says, something more obvious. I said, would that be you losing your farm? And he said, God, I hope not. And I said, well, I pray that's not the case. And I said, what I ask you to do from here on out, when you get upset about something, research it 2 steps past what you already do. And when you find something that's inconsistent and not factual, don't let anything else coming out of that same source upset you. That's what I ask. That's what I ask all of you. We need to take the anger out of politics, and we need to stop making excuses for somebody who does not take anyone's advice, ever. That is him for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. That is who he is. He knows everything about everything. He will say it to you over and over. Get that through your head. And for those of you who are still going out of your way as you're losing benefits as a veteran or as someone on Social Security or Medicare or whatever, as these things are being taken from you and you're still making excuses, just recognize we need you to help stop this. So whenever you want to recognize the facts, whenever you want to actually look at what's truly going on and not through nothing but a political lens, and you want to have an adult conversation about what's really happening in our world, as your 401ks and the stocks drop and all that, remember the stocks were what proved he was kicking ass first time. What's the excuse now? Recognize this is all him. It's him, and your belief in him put us all here. So the pain you're about to feel, if you're not feeling it already, it's going to get worse. But all of us who saw it coming, who have been preparing for this for 10 years, are already fighting back. So join us when you're ready to wake the fuck up. Until then, stop complaining, because we don't care anymore. You're going to learn your lesson your way. When it's loud enough that hits you in the face, and you're like, oh shit, they were right. And we'll say, we'll talk about that later. Let's stop this asshole. There's our focus. So unify, stand shoulder to shoulder, and recognize we are all in this together worldwide. No matter what color you are, no matter what creed you are, no matter what country you're from, this guy's messing with everybody. Can we learn that lesson and join forces, unify, and move on? We are a world family of all different colors. Smile, enjoy it. God bless.
U.S. farmers are suffering right now, and all that thanks to the budget cuts which are being implemented by the current administration, and they're literally suffering. Farmers are losing their jobs, farmers are losing their farms, farmers are losing their workers. They're being hit left, right, and center. And who's to be blamed? Of course, the people who voted for the current administration. If you know you voted for this current administration, then you are to be blamed. If you did not vote for this current administration, I am sorry, but you'll all have to suffer, because at the end of the day, the current administration is the one which is governing, leading the country as we speak. Farm season is here, and farmers are crying because they're losing out their farms, they're losing out their produce, and they don't have any workers to operate in the farm because they have been deported back to their former countries. That is the reality. And farmers, majority of who are the ones who supported Donald Trump, the current administration in America. They are the ones who literally went and voted and say, we support you and we know you'll do something good for us. Unfortunately, the something good for them is what they're finding out. They literally thought when these policies are being implemented, it's going to affect other groups of people, but not the farmers, especially in the red state. That's what they assumed. In fact, there is a video where you showed a farmer say, yes, I know they say they're going to deport undocumented workers, but I know for a fact most of the farm workers are the undocumented immigrants. But still, I voted for the current administration. That's what he said in the video. Unfortunately, the reality is hitting hard right now. Those undocumented workers, those farm workers, they are no longer working in the farms because they have been deported, and others have run away to go to friendlier states where they can hide themselves out until this administration finish their 4 years, and then they can come back and continue their work. For season, they say you make stupid decision, you end up suffering, and this is the result. People are crying, people are suffering, they're making so much losses. 7 years ago, most farmers in America, they suffered when China refused to buy their soybeans. And right now, because of the tariffs, China has also turned their back against America, and they have bought soybeans in Brazil. And right now, farmers in America, they're wondering where are they going to take their soybeans? Where are they going to look for another market? Because 50% of the soybeans used to be sold in China. So what's going to happen? What is going to happen to these farms? Who is going to take care of these farmers? That's the question they're asking themselves. They're turning around to ask the government. The government is telling them, no, we are not giving you subsidies because those subsidies, we cut it out. We are no longer giving free money. That's basically what the current administration is doing. So who is going to take care of the farmers? Who? That's the question people are asking. Farmers, they're crying, they're asking for your help. So guys, let me know what you think about this video. Comment, I'd love to hear from you guys, and please don't forget to subscribe. So this is FAFO season continuing. For the next 4 years, people are going to cry. So buckle up, stop complaining, stop whining. This is the time you do your research, so that come the next election, you know who you're voting for. You vote for the person who has your best interest at heart.